Welcome to the first official episode of the Hatecast. Now, we had intended for this to be an A to Z gear talk, but due to my personal hectic schedule, it turned into a gear-fueled tangent. To be clear, this episode does not reflect Chaos and Pain, the supplement company's views on PEDs, and we here at Chaos and Pain do not, nor will we ever condone illicit drug use. That being said, please understand that this video is for entertainment purposes only and is not to be used as an educational outlet. I know I go over this a lot in the podcast already, but it cannot be said enough. Simply put, if it's illegal in your country, don't do it. Now, with that being said, enjoy the show. And we're live. Welcome to Chaos and Pain Hatecast. Hatecast. I can't speak today. All your hate in one place. How you doing today, Jamie?
Fucking awesome. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. You know, I've taken this week off of dieting. Kind of went back, bumped my calories back up to maintenance, and ready to shed off the last little bit in the next 8 weeks. So kind of excited for that, and then again not excited. It'd be fine.
Yeah, it's fun to get lean, but it sucks dieting.
Yeah, well, you know, it is what it is. I just shouldn't have bulked so hard. Like, my wife coupons, and she bought me about, 12,000 DiGiorno pizzas. It's fine.
I don't think I've ever used a coupon in my life.
Man,
I've never used a coupon. I've never used a coupon, and I've never used an umbrella. I mean, I've used online coupons, like promo codes and shit, but, yeah, never carried a coupon into a store, and never in my life used an umbrella.
Well, all right. How's your training going? Anything changed from last week?
It's going great. Actually, so my girlfriend started training with me about a month ago, and she hadn't trained in about a year. She used to be a CrossFitter and then had heart problems and had heart surgery and hadn't really trained since. So she was super detrained. She just jumped right back into it. I mean, she had, like, for a month kind of fucked around on the treadmill and things, but didn't really lift. And then all of a sudden just jumped back into it like 3 weeks ago, and she just PR'd on front squat and back squat. Hit a 185 front squat and a 230 back squat.
There you go. That's awesome to hear. So,
yeah, and yesterday I hit a really, really clean 455 front squat with like a fairly narrow stance for me, so I was pretty psyched about that. I mean, it's still 50 pounds off from my best, but my form was better and it was smooth as hell, and so my weights are going up quickly.
That's what's up. Yeah, and speaking of weights going up quickly, that leads us to our little masterful transition into the actual topic of today's Hatecast. So, gear, the all about it, so where do you want to start about it?
Well, let's see. I would say we should start by just addressing the fact that I've never personally talked about my gear use for a very specific reason, and I will reiterate this throughout the podcast. The reason why I don't talk about gear, the reason why I don't discuss my gear usage, and the reason why I find it objectionable that people ask questions about gear so often is, to me, gear is icing on the cake. It is not the cake. Especially young kids, they act like gear is the first and last and foremost thing, and anytime anybody does a good lift, they start screaming about fucking gear. I want to grab them by the ankles and just start whipping their body into the ground so that their head just smashes and splatters all over the fucking... It annoys me to no end. They think that gear is magical. They think you can't do anything without gear. Basically, at this point, I would say somewhere, if I walk into a gym, I immediately want to kill between 90 and 98% of the people that I see. Just right off the bat, because I know what the first questions coming out of their mouths will be if they talk to me, and I just generally don't like them. So if anybody feels alienated during this podcast, it's because I probably don't fucking like you.
Also, with that said, I did throw up a little image before the podcast if you're watching this on YouTube or you're just listening. So this is for entertainment purposes only. This has nothing to do with the views of Chaos and Pain LLC. So this is just a fun little topic that me and Jamie, or Jamie and I, if you want to get all correct and shit, decided that we wanted to go ahead and hash out and talk about. So, with that being said, guys, we're not encouraging gear use. We're not telling you to go do this stuff. That is a personal choice, and it may or may not be legal in your country. So
Nor do we sell it. So don't fucking ask where we get it. Don't ask us for contacts. Don't ask us any of that. Like, do your own shit. Do your own research. Right. And, yeah.
But anyway, back to the point. I mean, yeah, I do agree there because, people act like the only reason that Phil Heath is Mr. Olympia is because of the gear. And I'll tell you right now, if it was Phil Heath versus, some gym bro without any gear ever, I mean, his genetics would win. He rolled the dice and he won. It's just as simple as that. And, that's kind of my world. And in the powerlifting world, I'm sure there are examples. But they... No, it's completely just it's a way to it's a tool to be used to sculpt the physique. It's not the end all be all because I'll be honest, the genetic freaks will remain genetic freaks even without it. Just like I said about Phil Heath there. So
yeah, but I will throw in that I think the genetic freak tag is as much of a fucking cop out as the gear tag is.
Yeah,
for your average 150-pound fucking pussy who claims that he eats a bunch, and like yesterday he ate 2,000 calories, and he claims he was stuffed all day, and I can't eat more than 200 grams of protein in a day or I'll fucking die. Like, it's not a matter of I'm a genetic freak or Phil Heath's a genetic freak or anybody else, or it's gear this and gear that. It's not that. It's just you're a fucking pussy. I mean, we should, along with this podcast, I think we should give pretty detailed instructions on where to buy a rope and how to tie a noose.
Well, your local Home Depot.
Sponsored by Home Depot.
Yeah. No, please call us. But
and GlaxoSmithKline.
Oh, yeah. But bondage supplies near you. But, it is just, it is a cop-out. I mean, people use genetics as an excuse as well, and it's not, I mean, it does make the difference at the, top 1%, but, like, there are plenty of competitors that are winning shows right now that just have shit genetics. They just outwork you. That's the sad, I mean, they outwork you.
I mean, you're fairly young, so you don't remember this guy, but there was a guy who is just genetically awful. His name's Dave Palumbo. Like, he's got small shoulders, wide hips. He's real tall. Like, none of his proportions really worked out well. And this guy, I mean, it was every year for like 15 years. He was in the top 3 for the NPC, never could get his pro cards. And he just kept getting more purple and more grainy.
Yeah.
And bigger and bigger and big. And he was just murdering it. I think he finally did. But, I mean, you could show a drive-in movie on his forehead.
Yeah, I actually keep up with the guy because I do know who he is. I'm not,
all right.
I research and all that jazz. So he had 2 shoulder replacements. I mean, he, like he was saying in one of his videos, he thinks that he already had a shoulder issue, and then training with heavy weights and then the anabolic androgenic steroids kind of put his shoulders off into where, I mean, he needed 2 replacement shoulder joints, kind of something he was already dealing with genetically. So I understand what you mean there. He said himself he didn't have good genetics. I mean, I just watched an episode of his. So.
Oh, all right, nice. Yeah, he just busted his ass and never fucking quit.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
And hey, he's still doing it now in the business world, so respect to him. But
yeah, I think he, as I recall, he's a keto guy too, so that's cool.
Yeah, he's not exactly traditional. He's not okay. So that's another episode for the podcast. We'll go over diet, nutrition, and shit like that. But yeah, he's a old school '90s bodybuilding keto guy.
Gotcha.
So, veggies don't count. That sort of keto, and that's fine. I mean, every diet works. Okay, that's another podcast.
No, actually, a study just came out. A meta study just came out. I don't know if you saw it. I just saw it yesterday. That low carb and low fat diets work equally, and that's even when accounting for your genetic phenotype.
Yeah. And you know what? This is
again, we're off on 10 different tangents. So let's bring it back to gear.
Bring it back to gear. So okay. So now that we've gone over people not using it, as an excuse, and people, using genetics as an excuse and everything, where do we go from here? Kind of lead us, man.
Well, I guess I'll just start with me. Not to be too solipsistic about it, but
no, you're fine.
I figure it's a good place to start. So, as I'd said in my articles, I've never actually written about what I've used. I alluded to the fact that I used gear, but I started with, like a lot of people, pro hormones in the 2000s. I didn't start using any kind of gear at all until I was 32. And it started with Methyl Mass, which was a pre-workout that had an awesome pro hormone in it that increased your sex drive like fucking crazy, and it also leaned you out. And I love the shit out of that stuff. I worked at Vitamin Shop because I had just gotten my MBA. George Bush had destroyed the economy, so there were no jobs to have. So I was working at Vitamin Shop, and I was selling it to couples as like Friday night special. I was just because
hell yeah.
When I say they loved it, I mean girls would come in and be like, "Look, I've been home alone a lot, and so I kind of went through all the Methyl Mass. Do you have some more in that flavor so my boyfriend doesn't know?" I mean, they were just getting in there and doing some work while boyfriend was at work. It was fun. But so I started with that, and then did a little research and started using very low dose Sustanon, okay. And kind of dabbled in that, and I kind of used it on and off since. So for the last 9 years, I've been on and off gear. Out of the last 9 years, I've probably used it steadily for maybe 6, okay. Like here and there. I've never gone over 1.2 grams of sus in a week, and then that would be like pre-contest. So right. Be like I'd ramp up to 1.2 grams of sus a week, and then I don't think I ever used more than, contrary to what some
people have said about
online personalities have said about me using 2 grams of tren a week, which I think would kill a normal person.
Not only that, but kill their wallet.
Oh my God, murder your wallet! But I mean, I get winded. At the most tren I've probably ever taken was like maybe 500 milligrams a week, and I don't even think it was that high because I think it was probably. I mean, tren usually comes in 110 milligrams of CC, so it was probably more like 300. And I mean, I was getting winded to the point where I had to like take a time out just from jerking off. So I don't even like. Hey 2
man,
grams.
We've all been there.
I mean, how the fuck would you get up a flight of stairs on 2 grams of tren?
I don't know. And also something that I've noticed is from the research, tren acetate usually causes acid reflux. I don't understand the mechanisms behind it, but it causes acid reflux in some people too. And like, just tren side effects at high doses is just not worth it. There's no cost to benefit ratio that's kind of worth it at like anything over, in my opinion, 500 milligrams, because it just even for like top tier bodybuilders, like if you're I'm sorry to say, but if you're not growing on like 800 milligrams of test or low dose tren like in the off season, you're not doing something right. There's something wrong. It's either your training or your diet, and unfortunately that seems to be the trend. Oops. That seems to be the trend nowadays. It's just like if something's not working, like if something's not working, just throw more gear at it. And there's actually this guy on this Facebook group. I won't mention any names and I won't mention any groups, but he's 165 pounds at 5'11", and he's running 3 grams of test a week. What the fuck?
Oh yeah, you showed me that guy. It's like just wait, 3 grams of test a week.
3 grams of test.
I've only ever heard of one power lifter who uses that much test a week, and he's
165er. Is that
no?
Is he undercover?
No.
Okay.
No. This guy's much heavier than that. But yeah, I mean, you hear all these outlandish claims, but yeah, 3 grams of test was the base of what what I heard he was doing. And but I mean, he had the performance and the physique to back it up. He wasn't a 165-pound douche on bodybuilding.com or whatever.
No. This is, man, let me tell you something. This dude gained 15 pounds. He's serious business, okay? He's serious. Come on. 3 grams of test for 15 pounds. You know you want that cycle. But, no, it's just, it's ridiculous. And for somebody to think that you ran 2 grams of test and you're not, oh, you know, you got prolactin concerns at that dosage. You got, I mean, fuck, you'd have chronic ED. Like,
you know what? One of the funniest things one of my funniest anecdotes from meets is listening to chicks talk about how they didn't get laid the night after a meet. And just be like, did his work? No. Did his work? No. Did his work? No. And I finally started asking some of the guys, I'm like, what kind of shit are you running that, like, your dick doesn't work? And then they were like, wait, your dick does work? And I was like, yeah. And then I told them what I ran, and they were like, well, you're fucking natty. That's why your dick works. So it's become a joke among a couple of the elite lifters that I'm a natty lifter because that I low-dose shit so much. But it's just like, I don't know.
Well, you're doing
like
things
fucking
right, though.
Well, and I also just like fucking. And I like fucking much more than I like competing. In fact, I like just about everything more than I like powerlifting competitions. So, yeah, I don't understand.
Podcast near you soon. But
yeah. They all claimed it was DMAA that was doing it to them, though.
Nah. Okay. For fuck's sake. Okay, I wish that would die. So DMAA. Okay, DMAA taken in the absurd doses of like 150 milligrams and stuff like that, 100% causes stem dick. I will tell you that right now. And it does that by the same mechanisms in which it works. And that's fine, but don't use 150 milligrams of it. I mean, that's where you're going wrong. And whatever, you know. You can only warn people so much, but, you know, I mean, it's you know, another problem I see is people stacking compounds, stacking 2 redundant compounds, like somebody will take Tren and Deca at the same time. And that's no bueno. Don't do that. So.
Yeah, to me, that's kind of like people who take ephedrine and Clen at the same time.
Oh yeah, those bozos. And that's another interesting aspect of it too. Is like, you know, competitive bodybuilding to me is a really interesting nonsense of drug usage. Right? It's like, let me take, beta 2 antagonists like Clen or ephedrine. Then let me take growth hormone, and then let me take testosterone, and then let me take you know, something like a oral kicker or something like that, and then let me take a diuretic like diazide, and then let me get stage lean, and let me see if I don't feel like dying. No, you're gonna feel like death. That's kind of the intention. And then let me go ahead and carb up with really shitty, like the shittiest food that doesn't cause acid reflux because I'm so acidic. Let me go ahead and do that like 2 days before the show. It's fine. But that's bodybuilding culture.
I can't say that I mean, right now, because I said it would be fun to discuss, and really for me, anytime you discuss steroids, you gotta talk about Andreas Munzer, and yeah. And as you're talking about how these stacks make no sense.
Hold on just a second. I'm sorry, what did you say? We lost you for a second.
Oh, so I'm looking at Andreas Munzer's stack, and I'm listening to you talking about how these stacks make no sense. And then I was thinking to myself, well, this stack just doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, he pulled test out of it after week 5.
Okay. Why?
I'm not sure. If you want, here, so that to edify everyone. So weeks 1 through 10, this is just, I guess this is a 10-week cycle.
This is his personal cycle, correct?
Yes, yeah. And Andreas Munzer was the leanest bodybuilder who's ever lived, and he dropped dead of everything. Literally every single organ in his body failed. Okay. His liver apparently melted when they pulled it out of his body. It just disintegrated in the hands of the guy who was doing the autopsy.
Okay. Oops.
So, and that was because he did 4 contests in 1 year. And before each contest, here's what his cycle was.
Okay.
So weeks 1 through 10, it was ephedrine, aspirin, Clen, Valium, Captagon, which is an amphetamine, and Cytomel.
Okay.
So that's just the base. So he was doing part of the ECA. Well, yeah, he was doing part of the ECA stack, and then Valium and amphetamines.
Well, he was probably using the amphetamine for replacement for caffeine, which is not a great idea. But that's
No.
fine.
And then the Clen T3 stack.
Yeah. So, and I'm guessing, does it say what dosages of Clen or T3 he was using?
Nah, it didn't. It doesn't give his dose for that.
That would have been wonderful, because you know what happens if you go up into like the 150 microgram range? Is it's like super eat away your heart range. Anyway, in the long term. Go ahead.
All right, so we got weeks 1 through 5. 500 megs daily of Test E, which I don't understand either. I don't know why he wasn't using...
That's short.
No, Test E is a long... it's because I would figure he would use a short-acting ester for that.
Yeah.
But, all right, so he's got 500 megs daily of Test E, then 152 megs daily of Parabolin, 150 megs daily of D-Ball, 150 of Halo, 20 IUs a day of HGH.
What the fuck?
How the fuck did he even afford that? I mean, that is mind-boggling. And then, like when your thoughts are all trapped up in a bottle.
Oh, yeah.
And 20 IUs daily of Slim.
Okay, so he was an accident waiting to happen, and this is the kind of bullshit that kind of drives me crazy right now, because you have people on Instagram wanting to try this shit now. So I don't know. That seems like a lot. His wallet has got to be hurting too. I mean, that's about 30-40 grand in gear.
Yeah, and then that's just weeks 1 through 5.
That's insane.
And then so 6 to 8, he cuts out the Test E, and he's running 300 megs daily of Masteron, 152 of Parabolin, 250 megs daily of Winnie, which that's
my
just...
joints.
I mean, my mind melts seeing that. On top of 150 megs daily of Halo. So, like, everything must have hurt. Chewing must have hurt. And then he was doing another 50 megs daily of injectable Winnie. And then he bumps the HGH up to 24 IUs a day.
That's monstrous. I don't really suggest anybody try that ever.
No, I mean, it's a miracle the man lived as long as he did.
How did he not just... I don't know how he didn't collapse within 5 weeks.
Well, he made it a year on the... Well, I mean, he was doing this for years, I guess. Which brings me to... I'm just a little interlude. When everybody starts carrying on about how, like, you're going to get cirrhosis of the liver from Superdrol, it's... You should see what these people have lived through. Your body can handle a beating. And I'm not suggesting people just go out there and start taking every oral they can find. But people get very panicky about, like, liver failure. Your liver is really, really tough. But and then we got weeks...
You can have a liver the size of a quarter, and it can regrow back. It's really a really great regenerative organ. So don't worry about that so much. As long as you respect the orals that you're taking and not take them like a douchebag.
Not take them like your name is Andreas Munzer.
Yeah, don't do that.
All right, so then the last 2 weeks he's doing 200 megs a day of Mast, 100 megs a day of Winnie Injectable, 200 megs daily of Halo, 400 megs... Just let me say this one more time. 4 followed by 2 zeros of Winnie tabs. So he's now up to 500 megs of Winnie a day.
Okay.
24 IUs of GH, 24 IUs of insulin, and 24 IUs of IGF-1. I don't even think this sounds like nonsense to me at this point.
That sounds like it was made up.
It sounds like somebody like pulling our legs. But I mean, I've heard tales of bodybuilders in the 80s grinding, and like, because they could get D-ball so cheap from Mexico, they would grind it up into a powder and put it in their salt shaker and just sprinkle it on their food.
Okay, yeah, but to be fair, Arnold Schwarzenegger has been on record saying that he just took a handful of D-ball, and if that worked, cool. If it didn't, he took another handful. So,
yeah. That takes you back to the liver.
Yeah, yeah. But we know more now. We know that that's probably not a smart idea, and that's why I love. And I know I'm probably going to catch flack for this, but I love this era of knowledge, of just complete and utter knowledge when it comes to that stuff now, because you don't have to do any guesswork. Like, I mean, for fuck's sake, guys in the 90s who didn't make it on. I'm sorry, guys in the 80s who didn't make it onto the bodybuilding stage, didn't make it on there because they got side effects. Like, there were very few people in Arnold's day that, if they took the stuff and they got gyno, they just didn't compete, instead of trying to fight the side effects, they just, oops, well, I'm not meant to be a bodybuilder now because I got gyno. Like, and nowadays you don't have to worry about all that bullshit because there's so many resources to help you if you need help doing that sort of stuff. Not that I suggest taking anything illegal in your country, but it is just one of those things where I love this era of bodybuilding just because it allows for more people to do it safer, and that seems like something that that's been missing in the years prior. You don't hear about bodybuilders dying a lot, and then the ones that you do hear about make such a wake because people like Dallas McCarver, he died, but he had heart issues, pre-existing heart issues, and when it comes to bodybuilding, I mean, you don't know if you have a pre-existing condition that would interact with the drugs until it happens. And that cycle sounds like just a recipe for disaster on all fronts. That sounds self-destructive. So don't do anything like that.
This is slightly off topic, but going back to recent bodybuilder deaths, since we had 2 of them last year.
Yeah.
Rich Piana.
Rest in peace.
I'm sure.
Come
it makes
on,
you
man,
feel better
you
to
got
say
to.
that. From what I heard, used to snort concrete, like that terrible ultra bitter creatine.
Well, I do know that, and this is us talking about another fitness YouTuber. I mean. Regardless of the guy, I know all of this is humor, or all of this is rumor. I don't really know what happened. Nobody, I think, does.
Oh no, I'm just saying, like, because they found a powdered substance on his desk that was cut into lines, and it was allegedly concrete. And then I guess a rumor had been going around that he snorted concrete. I don't know if he did that as a goof or what, but I can't. Like that would tear up your sinuses for days.
Yeah, no shit.
I once tried snorting ephedrine, and I almost fucking died. It was awful. It felt like I'd been stabbed in the eye.
Well, you also have, that's a different way of absorbing things too. Like you could potentially get caffeine into your system faster if you snort it, but don't do that because it's dumb. You can damage your fucking nasal cavities. It's fucking dumb. Don't do it. Please don't do it.
And don't ever try snorting ephedrine.
No.
It's not fun. Like, we did it because we're idiots, but it wasn't fun. It's not fun, and it's not a good time.
No. But that kind of leads me into, another discussion we can have here too, is like, do you think it's pretty safe to say that a lot of the competitive bodybuilders now have a problem with hardcore drugs? I've always been interested in other people's opinions about that. I have my own, and I'll share those in a minute. But what's your opinion on that?
When I was in college, I met a chick who, I used to fuck around with this chick who was she was a dancer. She was like one of those pro dancers on dance teams and stuff, and she was real fit and used to fuck a lot of pro bodybuilders.
Yeah.
And one of the guys she told me that was not natty, and the internet loves going berserk about Mike O'Hearn, but yeah, she blew him in a hot tub and said he had abscess injection sites like crazy. But she said every single party that she went to, it was she was saying like it was all pro bodybuilders and stuff. They were just like everybody's taking handfuls of everything, and then they were so fucking speedy and high and snorting shit and like all crazy that at the end of the night they would just chug a bunch of GHB to pass out. Then they would just basically fall out wherever the fuck they were standing, like basically just laying in a giant muscular naked pile of people, which sounds like a pretty good time. Yeah. And then they would just wake up and do it all over the next day. So from that and from other stories I've heard about Newbane and all kinds of shit, I would venture to guess that there are a lot of bodybuilders out there who do a lot of hardcore drugs. Also, I definitely at WPO meets in the 90s, I would watch guys rip lines of speed off of fucking urinals in between lifts. So,
fun.
Yeah, I don't know why that off the back of a public urinal seems like a good place to do it, but when you got a bunch of speed in you, I don't think rational thought is the first thing you.
Don't worry about it, bro. My smelling salts came in a white powder. Don't worry about
it. Exactly.
No, my opinion is like people find a way to justify everything in their life, right? And when people take the first jump onto anabolics or something like that, they feel kind of slimy, they feel kind of dirty maybe the first time, and then they kind of use it to justify other things too, like and this is like not your normal gym bro or whatever, like who chooses to do a cycle, right? Whatever on that, but people who are hardcore into the bodybuilding scene seem to, in my opinion, have a problem with using anabolic androgenic steroids as justification to use other drugs, which leads to death. I mean, you look at the show Intervention, and they have 3 episodes on bodybuilders, one of which is a female bodybuilder who's addicted to steroids, blah blah blah, right? Whatever, like
which is total horseshit, but
yeah. So that's her thing. That's her thing that she's being interventioned for. And the other one is a bodybuilder who
come on, man. You got a graduate degree. You can conjugate the word intervention.
Okay, but that's her thing. So the next one is a bodybuilder who was addicted to cocaine to help him in pre-workout environment. So, and then the other one was a bodybuilder who used both meth and heroin as a pre and post workout mix. So,
if I may interject,
yeah.
The science is good on cocaine, and I'm not suggesting anybody do this. I'm just saying the science is there to support the fact that cocaine and testosterone are they're complementary substances to use with one another. However, methamphetamine, and I know this from watching a Discovery Channel thing where they ran a bunch of drug addicts through different tests on their drug of choice. On the strength test, the guy who was on cocaine was a fucking maniac. He was they had to load all these appliances into the back of this truck using a ramp. He just said, fuck the ramp, and he was just throwing shit onto the back of the truck. Okay. And he ended up getting this like 500-pound, like, I don't know what it was, a washing machine or something. Just like, it wouldn't go up, and he just starts screaming and yanking at it and threw it up on the back of the truck. The meth guy damn near died like lifting 100 pounds, like coffee pot. Like, and apparently meth raises your body temperature so high that it like reduces your strength levels to ridiculous lows. Yeah. So I would advise against using amphetamines for pre-workouts because they don't seem to work well. Just stick with the legal stuff, or head down to Columbia and get your pre-workout there.
Yeah, well, stick to the legal stuff, but we don't advise anyone to blah 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 entertainment purposes only. So, yeah. But that does kind of bring up an interesting question because a lot of bodybuilding deaths. I mean, very little of the deaths have been linked to steroids. I know we got off on a tangent here, but. This
whole episode has been nothing but tangents. But
fuck it. Yeah. The bodybuilding deaths have largely been due to other factors. Like we don't know if they smoked. We don't know if they drank heavily. We don't know if they used other drugs. Like people, certain NFL players. I'm not going to name any names. I know of one that uses tranquilizers to get them down, and then uppers to get them up, and then they. Use cortisone shots in between rough training sessions, and then they So that can tear your
Are you
body
talking
up,
about a
too.
former NFL player or a current NFL player?
Neither. I can't say, but
Oh, at first I thought you were talking about Romo.
no.
Well, apparently he used to walk around with a tackle box full of drugs.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
But to bring it back around, the guys who are most successful at adding size and strength, and this is kind of where I want to head here, is the guys who are most successful in adding size or strength with gear usually end up using conservative doses and good training and good diet. Hands down every time. Because the guys that just use the absurd doses, just they're all about that shortcut,
Yeah. There's a guy that I had never heard of before, but a chick I used to dated him. He's well known for being like one of those guys who like was nothing without gear, and then he was big with gear and started using synthol. He's a stupid ass name. He's from California. He started a terrible supplement company where he sold peptides and shit, and now he's like running from the cops back and forth between here and Hong Kong or something.
Oh dear.
The hell is his... you know the guy's name. It's he was like Ziz, only bigger. And he has a really stupid name. It's going to come to me.
I have no idea.
He just quit gear, though. And apparently he's just shriveling up. You can hear him getting smaller.
Oh, I might know who you're talking about. But
You're not going to name his name?
not going to name his name. You know how I roll.
What does it rhyme with?
Faustin Boyd?
Yep, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, now I know who you're talking about now. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Faustin Boyd,
apparently none of that helped him in the pants.
Well, it's kind of difficult because from what I know now, Boston is a guy, whether you like it or not. Faustin. Sorry. Faustin is a guy, whether you like it or not, who says what he's taking, and generally I wouldn't expect him to lie because he's kind of made his name off of what he's taking and stuff. So, with that being said, I would suggest to him maybe getting his prolactin levels checked. Blood test is you don't need to go through your GP to get a blood test nowadays. There's other places you can go, which, by the way, I suggest everybody get their vitamin D level checked because it's something very, very neglected in our society. But I would suggest getting
Vitamin D. Vitamin D actually fits in well with this podcast because vitamin D is technically a hormone and not a vitamin.
Oh, correct. Yes, it is a hormone synthesized within our own bodies. It can also be gotten via external sources. Great stuff. If you have low vitamin D, you will fucking know it. But it won't be something that you will feel almost immediately. You'll just feel like shit 24/7.
Yeah.
So,
can be easily fixed with a tanning bed.
Hell yeah. Or supplementation. But,
yep.
Regardless, I would get his prolactin levels checked, and because he might have been running stuff like Tren, which long term, if you run Tren long term, it can have some detriment to your prolactin levels. So
I don't know the guy personally, but from the little bit I do know about him, he might not be he certainly isn't a person I'd probably want to hang around with, but he seems pretty knowledgeable when it comes to the biochemistry of steroids. So I would venture to guess he's going to be doing all the right things in terms of HCG and all that to get his levels back up.
Yeah, and that's another thing. If you would really quickly, so your opinions on PCT?
It's one of the few things Mark Bell on.
Hold on just a second. We lost you there for a second. Go ahead.
Okay. So one of the few things I agree with Mark Bell on, it's just wasted money that could be better spent on more gear. I've never in my life PCT'd. Never once. I've never taken anti-estrogens and never had a problem with gyno because I'm always pretty lean. So you're not going to get gyno if you're lean, in my opinion. Unless you're just running all kinds of crazy shit, and I don't do that. I've crashed off of test a little bit. Shit happens.
Yeah.
Shit happens when you party. So, I mean, I don't see the point in it, really. If I was trying to have kids, I'd probably run HCG, but that's, Rugrats are not high on my list of things to do, so.
That's where me and you differ a little bit. Now, with the caveat being, if you're competing, PCT shouldn't come out of your mouth.
No.
So, in a non-tested federation, let me just say that, because somebody's going to get butt hurt out there. But, which we'll talk about how much of a joke that is in a later podcast.
Yes, absolutely.
So, but I do suggest that if you're not competing and you do make the very personal choice to take something, you should definitely PCT if you want to have children later in life, if you want to ever get off, not in the good way that we covered in the last episode, but get off of the gear, just because it's going to make things a little bit easier. And some people just do not want to have a shot in their ass for the rest of their life because they decided to run gear when they were little.
Your levels will rebound without taking PCT, though. It's not...
They will rebound, yes. They will. It
will
take 6 to 8 months. I think that's pretty conservative estimate. It'll take 6 to 8 months for you to get back to normal, but...
Will it really take that long?
In the research that I've done, for everything to get back to normal, I'm talking about aldosterone too. Aldosterone, DHT, estrogen... something people don't know is people don't think about really is too little estrogen can actually make you feel like shit. It can completely, like, all this abuse right now going on about anti-estrogens. You have people who aren't even taking anything, they're taking Aromacin.
Oh, Jesus.
What the fuck?
That shit Erase. I blame that company. I think PES makes it. I think it's got Arimity in it. I don't recall off the top of my head. It got real popular in Miami because people who were going clubbing wanted something that was going to lean them out quickly. And there was like a Race and then a Race Pro. And so I think that company either started that trend or they capitalized on it. But yeah, the people taking it. I mean, yeah, I've written extensively about xeno and phytoestrogens and about how there's far more estrogen in our environment than there ever has been before. But I still don't think that that's justification for running anti-E's. Justification for running tests maybe, but not anti-E's.
I completely agree. So like if you're running testosterone or something and you need to take a little bit of Aromacin to, combat the side effects, that's fine. But like you get off test and you're still taking it in either PCT or Bridge or whatever you want to do with your life, right? You're what are you doing? Yeah,
Well, why don't you just pause for a second and we can make this a little more educational and explain what it is that they would use that for. Aromacin, I think is what you were talking about.
Okay, and we will be right back. Stay tuned. And we're back. So, educational-wise, let's go over why you would need an anti-estrogen or why estrogen would be a concern. So, for natural guys who's not using anything, estrogen's generally not a concern unless you're higher body fat percentage, right? Because that is really the determining factor about how much men have estrogen-wise. For women, that's a personal thing. If you're if you want to look a little bit drier, you can play around with some natural anti-estrogens, like sold by supplement companies or something like that. But I wouldn't touch the big stuff, right? And for men too, I wouldn't touch the big stuff if you're not on cycle. So like Arimistane or Arimicin. So the purpose of an anti-estrogen on something like testosterone is literally just due to combating sides, right? Like, I have itchy nipples, I'm starting to feel gyno coming on, let me just sprinkle a little Arimicin on there and see if I can't get that to go away. Now, on the other hand, anti-estrogens will not work on prolactin-based gyno, which is the kind you can milk, if that makes sense.
No.
And that
Well,
has to do.
You can milk anything with nipples.
Hey, there you go. Don't threaten me with a good time. But that's the kind usually caused by excessive doses of something like Tren or Deca, because they raise prolactin levels, and you can take stuff to combat that too. But the problem with too low estrogen is you literally feel like you have the flu. You have no sex drive, and your strength just goes way down. Your potential for muscle building goes way down as well. And right now, I personally see, and I'm a member of a lot of Facebook groups and a lot of fitness forums and stuff like that have people who abuse this shit. And if you abuse this stuff, you will pay the price. And I would highly suggest against it. So only use it to combat side effects. And, at the end of the day, if you're on a test cycle and you take an anti-estrogen, I mean, you could be doing yourself a disservice, because test makes your joints feel good. Or estrogen makes your joints feel good. So only use it as needed.
Yeah, when I was running a supplement shop, my advice to people was basically, if you're starting to get really sensitive nipples, and I love having my nipples played with during sex, so I'm not talking about if it feels good to have your nipples played with. I'm talking about if your shirt rubbing on your nipples itches or hurts, you should start running an anti-E, because otherwise you're going to end up with tits in a couple of weeks. But other than that, or your dick doesn't work, one or the other. But then there's prolactin that comes into it, and how do you fix your prolactin levels anyway? Since you
there are things that you can run. There are medications, and we might go into that because we're running short on time. We might go into that on part 2 of the gear talk if you guys like this. But there are some things you can take. It will something also interesting that we'll kind of save for next time too is prolactin. When you lower it, all the stuff you take to lower it will actually decrease your refractory period as well. So you will be able to ejaculate more frequently and basically recharge more frequently. It's fun stuff to play around with here. So that being said, let's bring this all around to talk about the one thing that really does matter. Because if you don't need an anti-estrogen if you look a little bloated, you just need to lose body fat. And sometimes people in the whole chaos that is the chaos and pain of trying to figure out what to do in life, some people miss the point. And the point is you want to be lean and you want to be fit, and you don't need gear to do that. You need to concentrate on diet.
And training.
So
and sleep.
Oh yes. But so in closing here, that was our.
Hey Bryce, I have a quick question for you that's slightly off topic. Goes back to the refractory period.
Yeah.
Without moving, just by turning your head, how many sex toys can you see from where you're sitting?
No comment.
You're not even gonna give me a comment on that.
No. Because you can use everyday objects as sex toys. So
I'm talking about specific toys to either purchased for the specific use, purchased by you to be used as a sex toy. Well, because we've got some dog toys that we use for that, or just straight up sex toys. How many are in your line of sight right now?
Oh, none. I'm in the living room.
Oh, I'm in my living room. I've got 6 in front of me right now.
Oh man.
Including a glass dildo that's sitting right on the coffee table.
Hell yeah, that's a good centerpiece.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think most people wouldn't know what it is. And there's actually there's a sex toy company called Bad Dragon, and another one called it's something hardware, and the hardware is spelled it's spelled HARWERE. That company, I don't know if do you like horror movies at all?
I fucking do, man.
All right, I just wanted to hear you say it. Dude, they sell this hardware. Oh, it's called Primal Hardware. They sell fucking dildo ovipositors along with the eggs.
You know what's great? Speaking of horror movies, there is, and I'll link it to you. There's a sex toy. There is literally a penis cage that is in the exact design of the puzzle box from Hellraiser.
That is fucking awesome. Amazing. You gotta link that.
But anyway, I think that's a good note to end it on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but Primal Hardware, they got horse cock strap-ons and all kinds of great stuff. And then Bad Dragon makes all kinds of like xenomorph dildos as well. So that's some fun shit for you guys to Google.
Hardware?
Primal Hardware is the first one. And it's
Primal Hardware. If you're interested in sponsoring us, we would be very welcome.
Or Bad Dragon, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
All right, guys. If you like this video and you want to hear more gear talk, please leave a like and comment in the comment section below. Please support your boys by following us on Instagram. It is at Jamie Chaos and at Pyrobat. Those will both be in the description box below. And as for everything we discussed here today, again, for entertainment purposes only, not
except for the sex toys.
Well, yeah, that's informational.
Yes.
I mean, come on. Everybody wants a penis lockbox in the shape of a Hellraiser.
I'm Googling that the second we get off this podcast.
Well, you know what? Okay. Yeah, we'll do that. Anyway, we'll see you in the next one, guys. And as always, make sure your training and diet's in check. For fuck's sake, stop being lazy.
Yeah, yeah.